This is Keeping Up the Conversation, an unscripted podcast. And now, here's your hosts, Tori and Big Ken. Follow Keeping Up the Conversation on Facebook at KUTC Live.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Keeping Up the Conversation, presented by Blackline Magazine. I'm your host, Miss Tori, joined by my always present super duper co-host, Big Ken. What's going on?
Hello. How y'all doing today?
I know, today is, it's just one of those days or it's just one of those years. We're still, it's just a lot going on,
It's the year
you
that won't
know?
end.
It's just the year that we are in, and it's like you don't really want to. It's almost like you don't really want to do 2020 over, but you just kind of want to go back. Even if you went back to January 1, that might not be the best thing because didn't they know about COVID back then
Yeah,
around
yeah,
that
that
time?
was
So
already brewing. Yeah, it was already off to a bad start.
yeah, so maybe we can go back to 1985. Did I
Well,
go
I
back
mean,
too far?
I won't be opposed to that. At that time, I was 5. I mean, there's a few things I could probably change, for myself. That hey, but at the same
But
time, I wouldn't change too much about this year because
Mhm.
for some people it haven't been a good year, but for me
Right.
it's been a pretty decent year, so I can't complain and I can't say I would change anything.
Yeah, I can't either. I think that you wish you can, like you said, you wish you can go back to certain points, but without changing too much,
Yeah, but
but
if you've
hey,
watched Back to the Future, you can't go back in time. You're gonna change the space-time continuum. Like
you
you're
know
gonna
what?
mess up everything. Like you
You
can't go back and change stuff.
that's too much. That's way too much. But speaking of change, I want to jump right into our hot topic. The election, the presidential election is entering the second day. And, most people thought that the election was going to be, well, I'm not going to say they thought it was going to be over with, but they thought that at least we would know who was going to be the 46th president. But I think the last time I looked, and people gonna look at this video years later, but I think the last time I looked, Biden was up 253 and Trump had 213. So and you keep on hearing them say, no matter what channel you watch, you keep hearing that everyone, the news, the media is saying we're still counting votes, but something else that you're hearing is basically from Trump's camp is, can Trump decide when to stop counting? And the answer is no, he cannot, because according to Article 2 of the Constitution, it gives states rights to administer their own presidential election. And although this article exists, Trump's camp still decided they're going to sue for the Pennsylvania polls over watchers and voters ID laws, saying that Democrats are scheming to disenfranchise and dilute the Republican vote. And I think that his camp knows that they cannot, they can do that, and by all accounts, it looks like they're welcoming that. But it's so much red tape that they have to go through. I think that, in my opinion, I think that Trump is getting nervous.
Yeah, of course. Anytime you're gonna lose and probably planned so many things for the next phase that you're not
Mhm.
gonna even get a chance to implement, like you start getting nervous.
Yeah. Exactly. And I know that we were talking just before the show came on, and you were saying that Trump did not expect to win the first presidential election.
In my
You know?
estimation, I don't think he did. I think, knowing Trump for, as I was growing up and into my adulthood, every time I seen Trump, it seemed to be about the attention that he could garner from people.
Mhm.
And I think the presidential, election for 2016, he figured, hey, I got the money, I got the backing. Let me jump in here and let me see what I can do. it's a
Mhm.
win-win for him, because even
Right.
if he didn't win, he still garnered so much attention that it was going to be good for his business. So,
Right.
whatever the case may be, but he actually won.
Yeah, yeah, he actually won, and like you said, I don't think that he expected to win either. He's this big um, real estate guy, and he's a marketing guy, and he's just used to being out there, and like I said before we got on, he's a business guy, and I think that's exactly how he tried to treat the presidency, is like a business, but it was a business that was too big for him to really grab a hold. This is just my opinion, for him to really grab a hold of. And it's kind of like, when you look at Trump's businesses before, and he's filed bankruptcy a couple of times because he's used to grandiose stuff, and he's used to handling things a grandiose way. Now, I will say that he is a character. He he's a character, and he knows business, but I have read all of his books, and I have to say that I like reading his books. I like the way he explains stuff in his books. But president, that's a whole different monster. It's
Yeah, because when you're the face of the country, that's a whole nother task that you
yeah.
have to take on. And I don't think he was really prepared for that. And his personality doesn't yield that for me, because he's so outspoken. The president is
Right.
supposed to be diplomatic in all his movements and be able to articulate certain things. And to me, Trump just isn't that guy.
No,
But
yeah.
but he is entertaining. I cannot
He
say
is.
that he was not an entertaining guy, because the stuff that he says, y'all cannot tell me, even if you don't like Trump, you can't tell me the stuff that he says you just gotta chuckle and laugh at, because you're like,
Yeah,
I can't
yeah.
believe this guy said that.
It's like, to him, that's him, and that's his personality. So on the other end, we look at it and we're like, man, I can't believe he said that. But to him, he's saying the right thing. He's saying what he feels is the right thing, and he's not worrying about who's receiving what he says. He's not worried about who's on the receiving end. But then again, sometimes I do admit, I do follow Trump on Twitter, and so I'm like, what is he going to say today? And this is so crazy that they allowed him to keep his cell phone, and so he can tweet. When you look at Obama, they told Obama, hey, we're going to have to take your cell phone, and he was like, well, I'm gonna keep this cell phone, but you can give me another one. But of course, he didn't tweet. He didn't tweet. He didn't do any of that bad social media antics that Trump is doing. And here's a really funny thing, is that although Trump is doing all those antics, it did not hurt his chances of being, you know, president.
Trump
It
is the
didn't.
Trump is an internet troll as the president. That's what he does. He trolls people, and if you do not know what an internet troll is, people, it's those people who get on the internet and say the wildest things. They'll come to your post and say the wildest things just to
Hmm.
incite emotion, just to
Right.
incite a comeback from you, or to see how they can rile up the people. And
Right.
that's pretty much what Trump does on a daily basis.
Oh
And
yeah.
the crazy thing about it is, you notice him tweeting the stuff because it's misspelled.
Oh
And
yeah,
I'm
you see,
like,
yes. Oh yes. Yesterday, last night, like I was telling you before we got on, I stayed up and I kept on saying, okay, I'm gonna turn off the television, I'm gonna turn it off. Next thing you know, it's like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. I was so addicted because I was wondering what Trump was gonna say. And he sent a tweet out and he spelled the word pole wrong. He spelled it like POLE.
well,
So,
he's been to a lot of
and you
strip
knew,
clubs, so I'm
yeah.
pretty sure that's what his
Right.
mind
So
was.
yeah, oops, wrong poll. But you knew that was him. You knew that was him tweeting. So uh, it was a interesting night, and still, I can't wait to, not for the show to be over. But if I could right now, I would like stream the video on the show because I want to watch. I just want to see. I just want to know. I think the one thing that I'm curious about is how Trump is going. If he loses the election, how is he going to? Is he going to go peacefully and transition from the White House
Mm,
to his penthouse, at the Trump Plaza?
that's that. If you ask that question, and you can answer it right away, because it's Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not going to go away quietly. He's not going to give up anything. He's going to fight tooth and nail until they drag him about that place.
That's
So
crazy. That
just
it,
get
it
ready
almost,
for it.
yeah, it doesn't make any sense for him to even just fight it. He lost fair and square. Well, I'm not in the event he does lose. He should just take his little red stapler and
No.
move on.
Mm-mm. No, that's part of the show. See, that's part of Trump. That's part of who he is. He's going to be
Uh,
drama. He's going to drag it out. And this is just a perfect moment for him to do that and say, you know what? If I'm going to leave, he's that guy that if you put him out the house, he's going to tear up stuff. He's going to
yeah.
kick the TV over. He's gonna try to flip the tables. That's what he's gonna do on the way out. He's not gonna go quietly, and this is gonna be funny to watch.
But I wonder if I know that there's a lot of things that as president, he's still president until the new president is sworn in. But I wonder if he'll try to change any laws that were sitting on the back burner.
I I don't see him doing anything like that. And also because it has to go through Congress and the Senate and so on and so forth in order for him to be able to do anything like that to get it completed. I don't see that happening.
Right. Yeah,
I really
I
don't.
hope that, yeah, I can understand him leaving the White House, kicking and screaming, but to abuse the power, that's something, just totally different. I hope that he
I
wouldn't do that
mean,
and make.
if you really want to be honest, I mean, they say all the presidents abuse the power somehow. So, I'm not expecting him to be any different. And because of who he is, I'm not expecting him to leave, quietly.
Yeah, so like you said, it will be an interesting watch and just to kind of see, but keeping in line with the same topic, him leaving, I never got the impression that his wife, the first lady, I never got the impression that she wanted to be there. I think that there was one time that I heard her mention that she wanted to be home with their son. And you know just by her demeanor and the way she sort of reacts to Trump, it just doesn't seem like she, not that she didn't want to be the first lady. I'm not sure about that. I just don't think that that was the lifestyle, that was a life she really really wanted.
If I don't want to be here was a person, it'd be her.
Yeah.
Because every time they have shown them, especially together,
Hmm.
she does not want to be there. She is not feeling Trump.
Yeah.
I don't know what he did or what happened or what occurred in their marriage or in their lives. I don't know, but
Yes.
she is not feeling him. When you're in
Mhm.
public and you know that there's a million cameras around taking pictures, and he goes to grab your hand and you slap his hand
Yeah,
away.
yeah. Isn't that crazy? That's just
Not one
so.
time, many times.
And so I was wondering um um if she sitting back and saying, um I hope he doesn't win because I don't want to be here.
She probably is. There's a meme that I saw. I don't know if it's recent or if it's from the previous election, but it's him voting and it's her voting next to him and he's looking over at
Mhm.
her vote to see who she's voting for. Basically, that's what it
Yeah.
looks like. And I said, I
Mhm.
bet you he is. I bet you he's worried because he's like, she does not want to be here. So she's
Mhm.
probably gonna vote for somebody else and put somebody. She probably voted for Kanye. You know what I'm saying? She probably was one of those people who voted for Kanye. So she really does not want to be there. I think she wanted the lights and cameras and stuff like that when she
Yeah.
was younger. But now that
Yeah.
she's older, she has the kids. So she just wants to live a regular life away from the spotlight. And
Yeah.
I think that she's had enough of it these last 4 years. So I think she
Yeah.
is clearly ready to go.
Yes. So we are going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll introduce you to our guest for the evening. We'll be right back.
All right, and we're back.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, now we can hear you.
I am so sorry. But anyway, I was just really talking, you know? Okay, so we're back. All right.
Yes.
Guess you guys figured that out. Can't stop laughing. Okay,
Oh,
so all right, so remember our guest. Well, remember our business spotlight. We last week we had a spotlight with our business spotlight was with DrinkLyte, and today we have the CEO of DrinkLyte. She is revolutionizing the beverage company and has found a way to merge lifestyle, health, and technology. She's a young professional and entrepreneur and is inspiring others to get in tune with what they really want. Please welcome to the show CEO and founder of DrinkLyte, Victoria Brodsky.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
hello,
How are
hello.
you? You're here.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Yes,
we can hear you. We can
Awesome.
see you. You look good.
Great. So do you guys.
Thank you. Thank you
thank
so much,
you.
Victoria, for being here. I know that we met sort of on a business week. Business week of fun with small businesses. So, and looked into your company and I was like, ooh, I got to talk to her.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this,
And we have the same name. I
yeah,
go by
we have,
Tori too.
yes. Okay. See, we had, Ken, Big Ken, two Tories. I don't know. It's going to be kind of tough.
Hey, I don't have a problem backing down from two beautiful women. So you all are
Oh,
right.
you're the best. You're the best. So Victoria, this is sort of like a date. You got to tell us before we get into like the meat and stuff, the nitty gritty. You got to tell us about you, where you grew up. Just kind of make us feel all warm and fuzzy before we get into the business part of
Sure. I love both parts. Um, yeah, so I grew up in a small town called Orangevale in Northern California. I'm gonna take my glasses off because I think there's a glare. I grew up in a small town in Northern California. It's right outside of Sacramento. And I have two older brothers and a younger sister who are just wonderful. So I was the third child and kind of always had to fight my way, just being the third child. And just we all grew up very independent. So I think that's where kind of a lot of my entrepreneurial spirit came from. I went to school at UC Berkeley, and I was one of those kids that I really didn't know what to study. I found out later on in my college career that I was dyslexic. And so I just had trouble with everything. It was like every subject was hard for me. And I enjoyed parts of it, but I couldn't figure it out. So finally, I just thought, you know what? My only option is to do what I know that I like. And that's, I'm really interested in nutrition and I'm really interested in health. And it's one part of life that I just feel like I know nothing about, but I'd really like to. And I'm so glad I did, because I spent a lot of time learning about basically, the tube between your mouth and the other side of you. And it's a lot of science. It's a lot of chemistry, but you also learn. It's such a cool science because you learn about how the world functions and America functions food system wise, and how that affects our daily lives, not only just in the grocery store, but our culture, how we eat, how we celebrate things, what we eat, what we put in our bodies, why we put it in our bodies. And I just really became obsessed with that. I also was kind of one of those people where I just was like, I don't really know what I want to do with this. The track for a nutrition, for nutrition sciences is to go become a registered dietitian and work in a hospital. But I really got freaked out when we got to the, feeding tube part. And I was just like, I'm not clinical. I can't do this. I'm not going to be good at that. But I had this kind of feeling that I wanted to own my own business one day, and I didn't know what that looked like. But I ended up during my time at Berkeley, I took time off and came back and took time off. And I was doing a stint in LA, taking some like community college courses to catch up since I had chosen my major really late. And I was, as college students do, working at a restaurant. And one time I, waited this table, and it was really late and I was really tired, but it was two gals from Sweden. And one of them said, "Wow, are you an actress?" I just assumed because every young woman working in a restaurant in LA is an actress. And I said, "No, I'm actually a nutrition student." And she lit up and got super excited and said, "Oh my God, I just moved here from Sweden. I started working for this startup. They build apps for people with food allergies, and I'm looking for an intern." And I was like, "I'm here. I'm call right now." Just because, when you go about your life not really knowing what you want to do, you kind of just take, opportunities as they come. And so that was my first job. I actually went on to work for the company for a few years, and that was really fun. But I realized in the startup world, I could do a lot more than just be like a director of nutrition. Like I didn't have to just guide people in that way. I actually was pretty good at doing like project management. So then it led me to kind of doing project management consulting for other small businesses and startups, which kind of allowed me to get my feet wet in the startup world without actually taking any risk myself. But it allowed me the flexibility to start my own company. So before DrinkLyte, I had tried a few different projects and essentially got to a point where I thought, I don't have enough money to make this work or get this to a point where I can convince people to give me money.
Well, I want to stop you for a second.
Yeah.
So when you met the young ladies in the restaurant where you're working that was from Sweden, at that point in time, had you thought about being an entrepreneur, or had you thought about starting your own company?
Yeah, it had always been on my mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you didn't have a company at that time. You just
No,
okay.
I didn't.
Okay.
I had ideas, but I really had no idea what the starting point would be.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. Now before we go on to DrinkLyte, so it's kind of like from what I understood, I'm always telling people, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'll read and I'll just start reading a whole lot of stuff about the person that I'm going to be interviewing. So it's almost like, it's like one day you and a group of your college friends, you guys are kind of like sitting around chilling, and then you were hanging out, and then next thing you know, the world wakes up and reaches for DrinkLyte. So how did, tell us about now it's kind of like the point where I'm like, okay, well, the date is going real good. So tell us about, the birth of DrinkLyte.
Yeah. And I have to be honest, this feels like a one-sided thing. So please interrupt me. I don't want to just keep talking.
No, and see, that's the thing Big Ken will tell you is that, I gotta, sometimes I'll go back to what I want to make sure I address, what you said. So it's not like I'm interrupting you to be mean. I just got to make sure I get some points.
Please do. I want to learn about you guys too. I don't know enough. But I'll continue. So DrinkLyte I got to a point with a couple of projects, like I said, and the whole idea of being an entrepreneur, as you guys understand, is like there's no way to just start except for just starting. And
that's right.
So I had started a couple projects, and again, it was kind of like they were all in CPG, so consumer packaged goods. Like I really liked the idea of having something tangible that I could hold, and I understood that better than starting like a technology company. So the problem is that, as a young person, especially in your 20s, and you've only worked a couple years, in your career, you don't have a ton of money just to throw at a business. And no one's really going to give it to you. Like it's,
Right.
and banks aren't even going to give it to us. So, with DrinkLyte, it was kind of like I was at the point before this all started, before I even had the idea. I had tried a couple projects and I basically was like throwing my hands up in the air. This was March 2019 last year. Throw my hands up in the air. Maybe this isn't for me. Maybe it's not. Maybe this entrepreneur thing just isn't for me and I'll figure something out. And then I had a group of friends from college come to visit. And of course, when you have college friends come to visit, you go out to drink.
Do you?
And I'm actually not like a big drinker. Like maybe I'll have a glass of wine every other week. I'm really not that, it's not a huge thing for me, but I do like solving problems. And so when we were preparing for the evening, we went out and one of the friends said, hey, we got to stock up on Pedialyte, which if you guys are familiar or have kids, do you guys know what it is?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So it was kind of like, okay, we're like, got to go to the baby aisle at Target and, find Pedialyte. And it was kind of like, messy and we had to shuffle through diapers. And I was like, this is dumb.
Wait, hold on. So why were you guys looking for Pedialyte?
Because, sorry, left this important key out. Pedialyte has been over the past few years has become this life hack for preventing hangovers.
Oh, imagine that. Young people, only young people, but go ahead.
So, because essentially, and I knew Pedialyte as what we would have used in like, a clinical nutrition setting for people, for kids, especially who are dehydrated, and sick.
Right.
And so it was really weird for me because like I had heard about, I had heard about like Coachella was the biggest, Pedialyte always sold out in LA around, Coachella time because everybody was stocking up on Pedialyte. So I was like, this is big. Like no other hangover product that I've seen has been this large, and it's actually taken a lot of like Pedialyte sales. I can't remember what percentage, but it ended up being like a large percentage of their sales in the past like 5 years for adults using it to recover and like rehydrate themselves after drinking alcohol.
Wow. Never heard of that. Never. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Look at all the Coachella pictures from all the celebrities over the last
Everybody
years.
has Pedialyte. Like, are there kids there?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay.
So to me, it was like, well, this is dumb. Why can't I just get a product that's for adults, that's in the alcohol aisle? It just didn't make sense. There was a lot of things that didn't make sense. But what I did know is that I experienced the Pedialyte. We had you kind of have some when you come home from the bar and then you have another, glass in the morning or whatever. And it tastes awful and it's full of a lot of artificial stuff. But I was like, you know what? This is quite effective. I do feel rehydrated. I don't feel as groggy. I thought it was pretty effective. And so I was thinking about it and it occurred to me, the reason why this works is because it solves an issue that's very common when you drink alcohol, which is dehydration. And a lot of people don't really think about that. And that dehydration is a lot of the reason why you do feel bad the next day if you have a few drinks. And I thought, well, there should be just an adult version of this that not only you'd stock up at home, but you could also grab at the bar. Like I didn't really want to come home and drink a giant glass of this like thick orange, child medication. It didn't seem right. And so, I started researching and figured out, this would be doable because the formula is actually really, really simple. It's called an ORS, oral rehydration solution. And it was created in the 1960s by a U.S. Army captain serving overseas. They were dealing with a lot of cholera and people were dying of dehydration. And essentially they couldn't get IVs enough. They didn't have enough IVs. It wasn't cost effective to have IVs. And that's the only way people would rehydrate quickly enough to not die. So these physiologists figured out if you have this ratio of a very certain amount of water to salt and glucose, sugar, just a small amount of each, but they have to be in this ratio. They essentially absorb immediately through your intestine to the rest of your body. So it's like the fastest way to rehydrate, even just as fast as an IV, but without the needle. So I thought, okay, what if I created something that tasted a little bit better, had a lot more natural ingredients, but followed that same formula and used it for adults? And that's kind of where the idea came from.
So, I have a lot of questions around that. Okay, so first off, my first question is, with DrinkLyte, do you have to? Is there any benefit to drink it or use it if you don't have a hangover?
Absolutely. And it's not even about, I'm in this tricky situation. I mean, this is still a young company, so a lot of the messaging is still being developed as far as how we go about it. But essentially, no, you can have this at any time. And I have probably at least one a day myself. And it's really just to rehydrate you. The reason why I thought we need to target this niche of adult dehydration caused by alcohol was because no one else was doing it. There's a lot of other brands that are doing the general hydration, hydrate whenever, hydrate after your workout, hydrate after you drink alcohol, hydrate, anytime. That's a much bigger market, which is great. And I hope to one day get there. But I thought, what can I do myself with the ability that I have? And that's target one market at a time.
So how this is going to be so crazy, but let me tell you first, Victoria, is I'm not a big drinker, but Ken is. No, I'm just kidding. No, he's not.
I'm not either, actually.
Yeah, I'm
Not
not
really.
I think the last time I had a drink was probably years ago.
Yeah.
But how drunk do you have to be before this thing just will not before I mean it's like you have a hangover and then you have drunk.
Yeah. So we try and survey as many people as possible who try DrinkLyte. And the average drink is 3 to 5 drinks. The average amount of drinks is 3 to 5 drinks. And those people report feeling significantly better.
So how long does it take? Like how long does it take before they start feeling better? I know, let me show I know we showed this last week, but it has like these, these 4. So Ken doesn't have any, by the way, because he used them, but
I have one left. I have to stay.
He has one left.
This is my favorite.
Oh, he's got one left.
The peach.
He likes the
is my
peach.
favorite. So I love peach products. So this is amazing.
Good.
So how many? Okay, I'm gonna have 3 to 5 drinks. Okay, I'm going out. Me and Victoria are gonna go hang out. The Tories are hanging out.
Tori, me and you probably only need 2.
Yeah, okay. So we had 2 drinks, and I wake up. I'm like, oh, girl, I got this hangover, and then I have DrinkLyte. How many more do I have to have before I start feeling better?
Okay, super, super important. If you read the instructions, it says specifically have a MoonLyte before bed.
Oh, moon.
Yeah. So drink.
Okay.
And these are our ready to drink cans, which I'll explain later because we have cans and powders.
Yep, I was going to ask you a question about that. Okay.
Yeah. So you drink MoonLyte when you come home from the bar or after you have a couple glasses of wine. After watching the election.
The entire can? Yeah.
Yeah. The entire can, 12 ounces.
Okay.
It's like the size of a Red Bull.
Okay.
And then when you wake up, you have the SunLyte.
Okay. Makes sense. Okay.
Very, very important. We did this very intentionally. And here's why. Drinking alcohol is a dehydrating event, just like working out is a dehydrating event. But when you work out, you don't wait 8 hours before you rehydrate. You rehydrate immediately. So that's why we actually branded it this way, because it was like, how are we going to get people to remember to take 2?
Right.
So I thought, okay, if we're calling the company DrinkLyte, we need to remind that one is a nighttime when you come home and one is a follow-up in the morning.
Okay. Now, are there different ingredients in both of those?
Same ingredients, just different flavors.
It's just it's just the marketing part of it is to remind people MoonLyte, SunLyte.
Correct.
Got it. You're so
That's dope.
smart.
Yeah, that's dope. I like that.
So I know the company is new, so I want to go back just a little bit. So
Yeah.
how long from this idea with you and your friends to you know, from conception to launch? How
Mhm.
long was that?
Okay, so if you consider our drink mix launch, the actual launch,
Mhm.
it would have been about a year and 6 months. However, we were essentially poised to launch in a select number of Los Angeles venues, bars, a couple hotels, clubs. And basically that means that DrinkLyte would be available for all VIPs. So if you were at a VIP table at any of those bars that we had developed the relationship with, you'd go home, you'd take this MoonLyte, and then you'd take home a SunLyte. So
Oh, okay.
that was going to launch April. And we had spent, you know, the previous 6 months establishing that relationship, doing events with these companies. Because it's a new idea, it took a lot of convincing for venues to essentially agree to hold this product. But of course, in March, all those venues.
I knew your company was new, so I was going to ask you about that. Like, you know, I know the pandemic affected a lot of small I know there are a lot of small companies. I know there are other companies that were expected to launch. But how has DrinkLyte been able to pivot in the midst of the shutdown?
Right. So it was, you know, I think we all thought maybe this will be a few weeks. You know, it's going to be fine. So during that time, I thought, okay, I'll just wait. You know, I'm not going to do anything. I have my inventory ready to be sold. And then it was like shelter in place started, and then it continued. And it was like around April where I'm like, okay, what do I do? We tried selling them at liquor stores, but we had, again, no marketing budget. At this point in time, we hardly even had a website. We had a landing page. All of the efforts leading up from like October 2019 to March 2020 was essentially in-person events, like going around all of Los Angeles, San Diego, Orange County, and essentially going to like the best drinking places or concert venues, wherever anyone was drinking, and essentially just like having people experience this. And it was wonderful. It was great. Like New Year's Eve, we were at the W Hollywood Hotel, like in every single room. Like it was people were getting it, you know? And so when it shut down, it was kind of like, okay, those are no longer available. So our only option is to try and get these in people's homes somehow. Right. So we tried like shipping them out, but like none of this inventory was, you know, packaged in a container that was meant to be shipped. They were all kind of loose because this was our first inventory run. So that was kind of like, this is not going to be feasible. The numbers just simply didn't make sense. And I didn't want this to be a product that was super expensive to purchase. I wanted it to be very low barrier to entry. So I thought, okay, let me see what I can do to create a version where consumers can mix it at home. That way we're not shipping, you know, the liquid. We're just shipping a powdered version that they can mix. And let me think about how that works. And so that's kind of where our party at home packets come in. And they're actually literally designed to be kind of a COVID response. They're literally called like Party at Home Berry is the MoonLyte.
I like that. Yeah.
Party at Home Peach. These are our party at home packs. You know, this is what
these came about. These came about as part of the pivoting process for DrinkLyte. It didn't exist at first until COVID.
100%.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Makes sense. Now, you know, I know that I'm an entrepreneur, so I know that being an entrepreneur, you always get asked, and I have a lot of questions, so just hold on. You know, you always get asked, you know, what does your day look like? And I know that COVID changes everybody's day, everybody's schedule, you know. So with DrinkLyte, what do you spend most of your time doing? That's
a great question. And I think month to month during COVID, it has looked entirely different. For example, in June, it was taste testing, all the different formulas that we were creating with the drink mixes. We had to reformulate these. I mean, we're using the same formula, but the ingredients for a dry mix is much different than ingredients for, canned liquid. So that, it changes. But essentially what my day looks like, because I still do work full time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. That's normal. That's normal for an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So I have Monday through Thursday, I work for the other companies that I do project management for. And essentially, it depends on the day, depends on the company. But essentially, I'll get up and schedule my day. And a lot of it is just emails. And a lot of it is checking our, website. And a lot of it is messaging our affiliates, which are people on Instagram who, essentially take a cut of whatever they sell when they promote like a promo code. But it's really all over the place depending on the day. But it's essentially...
So I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I heard what you just, you said something about Instagram sales and people helping you. So tell me a little bit more about that, because I know a lot of the people that Big Ken and I are involved in, they're people looking for, stuff like that. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So when COVID hit, again, we had no social media, no online presence. It was all in person up until March. So the efforts. And so when COVID hit, it was kind of like, okay, we got to put like content out on social media. We got to let people know we're here online. Duh. So what we started doing, because I just I couldn't the photography that I needed, I couldn't really afford. And the videos that I wanted, I couldn't really afford. So I was like, let's do this strategy where we just have consumers make content for us. And it's going to be really raw and really rough. So what we started doing was just sending our product out to people, being like, do you want free product? If so, story yourself doing this and send us the video. And what the story was the hashtag celebrate light is what we call it, which is the DrinkLyte system of kind of what we're promoting, this idea of like having fun, but also kicking butt in whatever you're doing the next day, whether that's workout or that's our whole philosophy. So if you look at this, our hashtag celebrate light process is a 4-step process.
I see it.
So sorry, I'm backwards. So step 1 is celebrate responsibly. Step 2, end your night with MoonLyte. Step 3, start the next day with SunLyte. Step 4, be your best self. Do something you wouldn't have otherwise been able to do. So we had people essentially video themselves doing these 4 steps as a Instagram story. And then we'd save that story and post it to our feed. Since then we've gotten more, better photography content and things like that. But that's still kind of our baseline of promoting this new consumer behavior from people doing it. So essentially what I said was, I don't have a budget to pay huge influencers. So what I'm going to do, even if I do reach out to a big influencer, is say, only do this if you like it.
Right.
And we had a fabulous response. And if you look on our Instagram, like even our party at home packs have tons of people sharing it on Instagram, because I think it's something they've never really seen before.
Yeah, it is. And I really like it. It was so funny. You talk about budget, and I know when I was gonna get you on the show, you're like, I'm not gonna pay for that. I'm like, wait, hold on, wait a minute, now, Victoria.
Yeah, I mean,
but you were super honest, so I was like, I love this girl. I got to get her on.
I mean, a lot of people that I talk to are kind of like, how did you get into that event? Or how much did you pay for those people to do that?
Yeah.
And it's not something that I'm like, I'm holding on to all my money. It's, I literally don't have, I don't have a rich uncle,
Right.
I have my savings and that's it.
Now, do you have partners? Do you have business partners?
No.
It's just you?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm going to call you after the show. So, anyway, so, another, I like your transparency and I like that you're super, super honest because there are a lot of people that want to start a business and like
Mhm.
you, they're like, oh, I don't have the money, I don't have this, I don't have the rich uncle. And it's one of the things that Big Ken and I talked about, I think in our first episode, was when you're going to do something, when you have a passion for something, just do it in the space that you're in. But
Yeah.
also know that, there are challenges and there are fears. When you started DrinkLyte, what was your biggest fear?
Um, it started off the biggest fear that I had when I started, which is no longer a fear at all, is that I would be able to comply with whatever the FDA required.
Mhm,
I had a little bit of training in that area because of my degree,
mhm.
as far as food safety, as far as all that stuff. And it's not like I'm making this stuff in my garage. Like I was creating it with partners, who are FDA compliant. But I think it was just really scary to think of, oh my gosh, I'm creating a product that people are going to put in their bodies. And I have to make sure that
Yeah.
every single ingredient, every single component of this is going to be a benefit.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't have that pressure anymore because you learn to trust your vendors. Like these are big, giant companies.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to create a problematic ingredient. But I think that for me was just like, I'm taking on the responsibility of something that people are going to digest. And
Mhm.
that was kind of scary. And it allowed me to like have a lot of respect for entrepreneurs in the food and beverage space. And I've talked to a lot, like specifically, people who have built their own kombucha brands, which is a very like fermented food and beverage is very challenging because you're literally creating something that could potentially poison people because it's like fermented.
Oh
So,
my God.
that was kind of my big fear at the beginning. But once I kind of learned the ropes and talked to more people in the industry, it was kind of like, okay, I have to just trust all the systems that are in place and the people who I'm hiring to create my product, that they're going to do it in a way that is safe.
So, a lot of people sit in that fear space and they don't know how to get out of. I think I was one of those people, believe it or not. I was extremely, extremely quiet and I was shy. And I remember my college professor told me one day, and I tell this little quick story all the time. And I was always the older one in class, and I was in college because I was in college for 75 years. And so and so I remember walking across campus, and my professor, I would always try to avoid him, like, oh God. And I remember I couldn't avoid him, and he stopped me and he's like, Tori, um, if you don't open your mouth, the world is going to pass you by. And I was like, he is so right, and I tell it all the time because from that day, I when I wanted something, when I wanted to ask for something, the thing, if someone says no, they say no, you move on to the next thing. And so
Right.
I didn't sit in that fear, and you didn't sit in that fear either. So there are people that are watching the show that are fearful about starting the business because one thing or another. But how did you get away from that fear? What helped you, motivated you, and encouraged you to step out of your fear and into
Mm.
starting DrinkLyte?
That's a great question. And, I think, and you could probably agree, Tori, there still are fears. I think fear is a very natural physiological response. And in today's world, it's a response to nearly everything.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that has been something I've been overcoming for a long time. It took a long time to get to a point where I could make a decision and act on that decision. And a big part of that, which again, I'm just completely transparent, is my faith.
Mhm.
That's what I just have to tell people. That's huge
That's
because
awesome. That's big. That's really
if
big.
you don't have something to rely on to give up trust and to
Mhm.
just give up control, it's really, really easy to stay in that mindset of fear.
Oh
And it
yeah.
doesn't have to be, uh, you know, one specific God or anything like that. I have my faith. Everybody can choose their own. But if you have a way to essentially give up control, of those feelings that are very natural, I think that's important. And a small tip that I've developed during COVID is to also not be afraid of those feelings. I think a lot of people fear, they fear. So when they feel it, it's like, I got to get rid of this. Like, or if I have anxiety, I have to let's get it off. Like, let me be angry to release this, or let me try and eat, to make myself feel better. Mm-hmm. I think the best way that I've discovered to kind of overcome that is actually embrace that feeling, mm-hmm. and to really just say, I'm so fearful right now. Right. And I'm an external processor, so I have to say those things aloud.
Oh, so do I. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I'm anxious right now. I'm nervous about X, Y, and Z. And just saying it aloud and recognizing it and kind of making friends with that feeling is a huge step for, to be able to be comfortable, because you have to get comfortable to move forward and beyond that.
Yeah. So, as entrepreneurs, we know there are some really big challenges, and I knew I wanted to ask you this question because you are a young entrepreneur, and we face challenges, but you as a young entrepreneur, you come in at a different time in the world. So, and I think that what would you, I guess, what advice would you give a young entrepreneur, or even someone that's older? Because a lot of people,
mm-hmm.
That fear take over their lives for so long that they end up starting a business at an older age. But what advice would you give an entrepreneur that's embarking on their journey to start a business? Like, what's one key advice that you would tell them to always be aware of?
I think it's so important in entrepreneurship, especially, to be honest with yourself and to be honest with others. That's Whether true. Or not that's going to work out for me, I don't know yet. But I think that has relieved a lot of the issues that would otherwise hold me back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that, but in business, honesty is important. It's kind of like how, and not to, you don't want to hear people beat a dead horse about this, but a lot of times you'll say, well, I can't do this because I don't, have any money. I would rather someone tell me that they can't do this because of a certain reason and be honest, than to get to a point and then it wasn't even, you were trying to keep up appearances. And, so I think honesty, in personal and business is really important. So, I want to ask you a question real quick, Victoria, about success. You can get a group of people together and ask them and how they define success, and, they'll have all these answers, but at the end of the day, they'll always say, and money. But how would you, how would you define success?
I think you can't ignore the fact that you need money to be comfortable and to compete in the world that we live in. And so for me, I feel already successful in a lot of different ways. And I think that's important to recognize and give yourself a pat on the back for getting to certain points that you aimed for. So but as far as like actual success, I think to be self-reliant and to say, I can support myself and other people comfortably is really what it would mean to me. And of course, I would need to be doing something that I believed in. So I think a lot of the reason why success and money gets like all jumbled is because people will do things that they don't believe in for the money, and that's not success, so like but if you're doing something that allows you to make money to support yourself and support others that you believe in, I think that's where success lies.
I think that's huge.
I was going to say something Big Ken, I was gonna go because I'm always, I'm always the one. I do this every show. I'm always the one just kind of like taking over the conversation. So I don't want you to talk. I want to talk.
Yeah,
So, but
take a note from Tori's professor, Big Ken.
I know, right?
Speak up.
No, I was just
so
gonna say that what she's saying is 100% correct in my mind too, because I've always been taught that not all opportunities are going to be attached to a paycheck. It's attached to
mhm,
your passion. So if you follow
exactly,
your
Yes.
passion will eventually turn into your paycheck, but you
Yes.
just have to
exactly,
continue to push yourself. So
exactly.
with everything that she's talked about today, the creativity and the product, the marketing, using Instagram, because that's kind of like a free marketing type of deal.
Mm-hmm.
um you have to be very creative, and she's done those things. So people who
Right.
are watching this, if you watch this interview today, or if you're watching the playback, hey, you're getting a lot of information that you would
hmm
probably otherwise have to pay for. So
Exactly.
we appreciate that information for sure.
Really, really do. Yeah, I know, Victoria. At the top of the show, you said you kind of wanted to know a little bit about myself and Ken, and yeah, I know it's almost time, but you and I have been communicating, you know, a lot, and so I just want you to feel comfortable with who you're talking to. So, just real quick,
So are you
I
saying I can call you anytime,
you
Tori?
can
And
call me
okay.
anytime.
People who offer that to me always regret it because I actually take it up.
Really? No, I
I'm just
offer.
kidding. I hope they don't regret it, but
No, call me anytime. I am a entrepreneur. I started a technology company last year, and so I'm in the process of the final part of an app that I put together. And before that, I still have a magazine. I still work on the
Mhm.
magazine every single day. And the thing about the magazine, it kind of reminded me of what you said, and what Big Ken said also. It's not all, what you do is not always attached to money. And I remember real quick, I was going to a football game, and before I got there, I was like, man, I have this magazine, and people don't know about it, but it's kind of big. It's kind of a big deal,
Mhm.
but they
Mhm.
don't know about it. And so I get to this game, and it's this huge football game, and I know that I'm a freelancer there. And so I asked the organizer, where do I plug in? And so she
Mhm.
said, over here. So I was sitting next to a guy who was ESPN, and next to him was NBC, next to him was Spectrum. And so I looked around, and I was like, girl,
Look at me.
so it is not always about the money.
Yeah.
I always felt that they trusted and respected me enough for the work that I was doing to tell
Right.
me, you need to come in and cover this game. And
Right.
so is like Ken said, it is not always about, it doesn't, success doesn't always have to be attached to money. So
Mhm.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. But anyway, so that's kind of like me. I have the magazine, and I started a technology company. I love building websites. So anyway, that's all about my technology company. So I'm a geek.
And what advice would you give to entrepreneurs as they're starting out?
I think my biggest advice is the advice that was given to me is just start. Don't worry
Mhm.
about the money, because there is always something that you can do for
Mhm.
your business. If you're going to start a business, just start. Like I always say, start in the space that you are in. Like you didn't really have someone that was going to take the photography. So you start in the space that you were in. Not
Mhm.
everybody has, laptops and lights or whatever. Go to the library, start in the space that you're in. So my
Mhm.
my thing that I would say to someone that's looking to start a business, or someone that's stuck, is just start where you are and grow, and set goals, little bitty goals, and accomplish something each day. And the next thing you're going to be on an interview with us.
That's right.
What about you, Ken?
Well, me, my first degree was in education. So I started out as a teacher and a coach. So I point out public speaking. So, in my next iteration of life, I'm business major, a lot of public speaking. So, my thing was in high school, I really wanted to be on a radio show, and I let people talk me out of it because they said that's not a good career. That's not something that you're gonna make money in. You can't
Mhm.
take care of a family with that.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
so I let people talk me out of it. In the short of it. So with the pandemic, it was a lot of people approaching me. I'm heavy on social media. I post a lot, make a lot of memes, content create, and that type of stuff. And people were like, "Well, why don't you just go live on Facebook and
Mhm.
just tell your jokes? Talk how you talk to us in public on Facebook so everybody can see
Okay.
you." So I started doing that, and you know what? A lot of people supported me. So what that generally would turn into is, you know what? I'll create my own podcast in which everybody's creating a podcast right now. I know, but I felt like I was different in the way I can write and the way I can articulate myself and the way I can talk about serious stuff and I can act up and crack jokes as well. So I started doing a show called what I call You See It Live. What I do with that show is I take everything that I post from memes to videos and everything on my social media sites and I give live commentary to it. So that show turned into a show that I do with a group of friends called the Five Session Podcast, in which we talk about a lot of different topics, relationships, day to day stuff. So, hot topics. So, that branched off. Matter of fact, Tori saw me on on social media one night on the show, and she was actually looking for a co host to do this show.
Mhm.
So,
Nice.
I lead that all back to say, just like we're saying, start from where you are, just
Mhm.
start, and everything will blossom into what it needs to be. And here I am today.
And here we are. So,
Yeah.
Victoria, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for joining us today. You are a true inspiration. You are more than an inspiration to the younger generation, but you're an inspiration to me because I started a business by myself, and I see that you are going at it and you are doing an awesome and phenomenal job, and I want you to keep it up. And I'm really serious. If you need anything, you can always reach out to me like we have been doing. But anywho, to learn more about DrinkLyte, visit their website, DrinkLyte. That's LYTE.co. Is that right, Victoria?
That's perfect, Tori. And
Well,
thank
thank you.
you guys so much. Honestly, I really appreciate what you guys are doing here and spending time with me. It's very generous of you, and I hope to get to know you guys even better as well.
All
No problem at
righty.
all. Like I said, this is good. I'm not lying to you. I really like this. I have to try the system now. I have to admit I
Mhm.
didn't try both because I don't drink too often, but I do like this though. I do
Good.
like the peach flavor, definitely.
So that lets you know, Victoria, that he did drink.
I definitely did.
Yeah. Good.
Thanks
Good.
again,
Good.
Victoria, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you guys. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you
You
too.
too. She's so awesome. I
Awesome.
like
And
her.
her story is amazing because she did something that a lot of people just don't have the ability to do because
Right.
they let fear hold them back. And I've always been told
Exactly.
fear can do one or two things. Either it's going to push you, either it's going to pull you back. She allowed it to propel her, and that's freaking awesome because I
Mhm.
mean, too many times you hear people make excuses. And people who know me know I don't like excuses.
Right.
I don't
Mhm.
want to hear them. Do
Right.
what you want to do and just let the chips fall where they may.
Exactly.
If
And
you fail, you
I
learn.
agree.
You, you
I agree. That's the thing. Exactly. When you fail, it's always going to be a learning
you
process.
learn.
You just keep on, you just keep moving. And one of the things that you said was that you let people talk you out of starting a radio show, and that's what people will do. Is that because it's not good for them, then it's
Hmm.
not good for you, and so they talk you out of your dream.
Yep.
And but again, I love Victoria's story because she didn't let the fact that she had dyslexia, she didn't let the fact that, she was kind of going back and forth from college and, working and, just she stayed in her space and she started DrinkLyte and she is doing it without partners. And I think that one, I understand that. And two, I think
all while working a regular
oh,
job.
yes, all while working a full-time job. And
Yes,
so that is amazing. And again, you have people that don't want to start a business because they would have used her situation as an excuse. I
as an
can't work
excuse.
I can't work a part-time, I can't work a full-time job and start a business and try to do this and try to do that. But you never know until you start, and then all of a sudden you understand how to organize your life around your passion. So like I said, I know I've said this over and over and over, you have to start in the space that you are in. It's
Well, as
funny.
my mentors used to tell me all the time, if you have all these excuses, then you just don't want it bad enough. If
That's
you want
right.
it bad enough, you'll start and build from where you are and make the moves. You might have a little fear, but at the end of the day, you'll succeed because it's what you're passionate about. So that's really what it
Mhm.
amounts to.
Yeah, and if someone says no, just keep moving. It's another learning process. One of the things that I also my one of my mentors also told me was, um, when someone tells you no, ask them why. So it's like so they can help you. It's like so they can help you the next time, not them specifically help you, but
Mhm.
help you on your next approach, so you understand why that person said why. Of course you'll get somebody that says because I don't want to, but that's not a good excuse. But if they're professional, they're not going to say that. But
Well, one of my mentors is my OG, my dad, and he told me all the time when I was growing up. He said, "If a girl tell you no, that's fine. You heard that before. Just move on to
yeah.
the next one. Same
Hmm.
thing in life. If the girl tells you no, just keep moving. Find
Just yeah,
another one."
go on. Yeah. Yeah, that's like that, but that's almost a whole nother show. Because but hey, we're gonna let that sit right there. Gonna let that sit right there. Uh anyway, excited about next week's show. Been
Okay.
waiting to talk to these ladies for a long time. Our guest next week will be three best friends who founded Esrevere Wines, and they took their journey to the Discovery Channel. And I watched the show. It was very informative, very enlightening, very kind of heartbreaking a little bit. And I can't wait to talk to these ladies. Not I want to talk to them all about their success, but I want to talk to them about how do three friends start a company and remain sane, because that alone, working with three
That's
women,
easy.
oh my god, no,
That's
that is
easy.
not. I
You
can't even
you
get
you
along with
have
myself sometimes.
you have three women with wine. You continue to drink the
Oh, that's
wine.
true. Yeah, you know what,
And-
you're right. See,
see,
that's why
see,
you're my co-host. You
see,
see, you
and
help me
you see how we
understand.
did it.
And
You see how we did it? See, she has drink light
that's
on today.
right.
You take your drink light and you
Hmm.
drink that. You have your system ready, and then you can drink all the wine from next week. You
You
let
know
you go.
what,
See,
I think we put a partnership together. See,
see,
people don't understand what we be doing. They don't understand. We be just putting
see,
stuff
we set
together.
y'all up for success because we help you get prepared. You got to get the drink light. You got to get the system,
Yes.
and then once you get the system, then you can get the Ezevere wine to go along with
Hmm.
that, so you can be prepared. So
See,
next day you can get up and be successful. See, we
there,
trying to
there,
help y'all
so why? So you can do more tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Okay, see, I'm okay. Y'all don't understand, but we're gonna tell you about it next week. If you would like your company to be featured on the KUTC Business Spotlight, send us a message on Facebook at KUTC Live. And remember, you can watch KUTC Live right here on Facebook every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Or if you miss it, go to blacklineentertainment.com. All right,
Yep,
so
yep,
every week at the end of the show, I'd like to give a positive quote. And this one comes from Winston Churchill. And he says, success is the ability to go from one failure to another with no loss of enthusiasm. Until next time.
make sure you keep up the conversation. Peace.
Follow Keeping Up the Conversation on Facebook at KUTC Live.